we will be going over the strat that I use. Basically, we'll be watching my most recent kill on the boss with the pug group that I was in. And I'll be pausing the fight at different points, and we'll just be going over what we do, how I do it. So a lot of groups will go to the right side. I go to the left side. It's not that big of a deal if you go right or left. It's honestly up to you. Okay, we'll go right here. So right off the bat, you want to pull the boss as close to the wall as possible. That way, every time he does the frontal, the ads are spread as little as possible, and you can do the biggest amount of cleave, and it will kill the ads the fastest. So the way I like doing it, I always have the boss do his frontal on square. I'm always marked as square. I generally like taking the boss for the entire first phase. As a demon hunter tank, it's not that much damage. It's easily doable. And plus, since we have our leaps, it's extremely easy to keep him on top of there without teleporting or running up against the wall and making the stacks a lot harder. So if you're a demon hunter tank, by all means, taking the boss in the first phase is definitely something that you could do. And same thing with monks as well, because monks can also transcendence down too. So, taking the boss for the whole first phase, don't sweat it. It's not a bad idea. You can definitely do it if you feel comfortable with doing it. So the first phase, I have the boss go on square, which is always going to be in the middle. That way we can have our Night Hunters go on Scholar X, which is on either side of the square. Square in the middle, Scholar X on each side, just so that people are always in the middle still. They can still kill the ads, they can still kill the boss, as well as Soaking at the exact same time. Now, if you can immune it, Hunters, Mages, Paladins, if you have an immunity, make sure that you run it out, and then you stand on top of the ad, just so there's no confusion, so we know not to soak. But at the same time, it's one less ad that we have to soak as well. All right, so you see here, I'm going to face the boss on square. My game is also going to freeze at this point. I lose all my frames, but we were able to get it done here. That is also one issue as well. You are going to have, if you run a big group, is this initial spot is going to murder your computer just because there's so much stuff going on with all the ads, with the Night Hunters, with the boss's frontal, with everyone's CDs going off. This part right here is terrible on computers. Now, the way that you can actually fix this is go into your graphic settings and turn it off particle density. If you disable particle density, this first phase becomes a joke. I forgot to do it for this one. I don't know why I forgot. It was rough. Everything froze, but it's fine. It was recovered. So you help soak Skull and X. Make sure that everyone soaks them. Always watch out for the cross. Pretty straightforward stuff. So as a demon hunter, I can just leap back down. Boss never moves, so it's always easy to align it. One other thing for the soaks, I like doing odds, evens, and everyone. So these first two soaks were all the odds groups 1, 3, and 5. Is make sure that everyone helps soak the Night Hunters. But most people, generally for pugs, the first phase isn't too much of an issue. So we'll just let it play. We'll let it keep going. So Warlock Cape for the first one is very common. It's a really quick way you can save your rewards for afterwards. So taking a lot is a good idea. So now we have the even soak, which is groups 2, 4, and 6. And same thing. So square is always going to be in the middle, and then X and Skull will be on the sides. So we help soak both of them. Very easy stuff. So for this phase, guys, always focus on the ads, always focus on soaking. The boss will always phase early. With everyone's item level now, the boss is always going to get phased without an issue. So just focus on the ads, make it easier on the healers. So this one is another even soak. And it's just killing the ads. And then when the Night Hunters come up, you help soak these. Now, the biggest advice I can give for the Night Hunters is as soon as you know you have it, you have to move immediately. Never wait to finish your cast and move last second. Moving last second of Night Hunter is always what ends up killing people. Night Hunter will always kill someone if you're moving around last second, because either no one's going to soak it in the end, or it might be on a cross, which is even worse. Yeah, so for this fifth one, everybody soaks. And then as soon as the boss disappears, so actually I'll go over that real quick. So the boss will transition. The boss will transition at 70.4%. So that means you want to hold all DPS, not for the cast. A lot of people will hold the DPS for the cast and then phase the boss during the cast just because the cast will still go off. You can't do that. The reason why you can't do that and why you have to wait for after the cast to finish before you phase them is because you want the ads spawned, because if the ads are already spawned and out there when the boss disappears, then the ads will also disappear. So for this here, play. So everybody soaks. You want to get down to 2 stacks. If not, if you have a Druid War, 3 stacks works too. So now that the ads have spawned, we could then push the boss past 70.4% or 70.5%. So here he just disappeared. Boss is at 70.5%. So now that the ads are spawned, that means that they'll also disappear when he finishes his cast. So this March to the Penitent, you have to wait for that cast to go off before, or sorry, you want to make sure the ads are up before that cast goes off. Because then as soon as the cast goes off, the ads will disappear, and then they're not going to hit you with all their AoE abilities, which is one of the worst things that can happen. So if you face the boss too early, if you phase it while he's doing the cast, these ads will hit you once or maybe even 2 times. And if they hit you twice, it's a wipe. If they hit you once, you might lose some people. Okay. So since we phase it good, it worked out. We also have a roar here. So as long as you have 3 seconds of the roar when you're running, anyone with 3 stacks will also survive. But for the most part, everyone had 2 stacks minus the DKs, which is fine. So we made it without an issue. All right. So for this phase, guys, we'll pause it right here. So I don't have any markers up for the second phase or third phase. I don't really think you need them as long as you have constant communication with the raid. So I always have range, kill the ad on the right platform. So all range, hard focus that right platform ad. And then once they kill that one, swap over to the left side ad, get it to about half health or a little bit less. And then they could swap back onto a boss until we come back through. For melee, I always have melee kill the ad on the right side. And just because that's where I keep the boss stacked. And the cool thing with the boss is that you can actually make his frontal hit 3 ads. So you can make the boss's frontal hit the ad where everybody is. He can hit the other melee ad. And then if you position him right, he can hit both of those as well as the left platform ad. So he can get all 3 of them buffed up, which is the goal there. You just have to make sure that nobody is in this middle section. You have to make sure the middle section is completely free so that nobody gets hit by his frontal. One good thing about Demon Hunter tanks on this fight is that it's really easy to snap the boss. You can always snap the boss wherever you want. And same thing with Blood DKs. Blood DKs can do it too. They just don't have the movement for it. So for this part here, make sure that nobody's in the middle so no one gets hit by the boss's frontal. And then have it go across all 3 ads. So for this second phase, guys, with this kind of comp, focusing on mechanics is the most important part. So dodge and crescendo is obvious now that Blizzard made it easier to see, but then also dodge and massacre when that comes up as well. Also, a lot of melee will be in front of the boss for whatever reason. Never be in front of the boss. If you get hit by the boss's frontal and then you get impale, the impale will kill you because it's double damage. So personally, I like having the impales go on the left side. Remember, I always tell everyone that if they can't count to 3 to not be in a straight line because they have to be sword, then the first person, second person, third person. If it's in any other order, then whoever's in the middle is going to get double cleaved and they will 9 times out of 10, they generally die. So for Massacre, I tell everyone to get away from the boss just to focus on surviving. The closer they are to the boss, the more stuff that's going on, the more stuff they have to dodge, especially with Crescendo and bad lineups. So just get away from the boss. During Massacre will always be good for damage. And then to just focus on living. If everyone's alive in second phase, the boss will always die in third phase. So for this set of ads, I have all ranged hard focus to boss. I have every single ranged hard focus to boss. For melee, I have them cleave these ads. So I get both ads hit with the boss's frontal. I don't worry about the third ad here, just the first 2. Now, okay, it looks like people did miss the boss's frontal, but I hit both. And then I have melee hard cleave down the ads. Get the ads killed before Massacre comes out. If you kill the ads before Massacre, then there's no crescendo you have to worry about during the actual Massacre, which is huge. But for this one here, it comes out at the same time. So this part especially, you want everyone away from the boss. So when we're killing this ad, you know it's going to line up bad. So I'll pause it at like the part that I'm talking about. Oh, someone just got flung off on the side. Okay, so like right here, there is stuff going on all over the place. Like it is a mess. So as you can see what I'm doing, and you can see a few of the other melee as well, they're getting away from the boss. They're running as far away from the boss as they can because the boss generally, even though I say run away from the boss usually has all the people around it. So it has all the melee, generally still a headbutt in the boss. So getting away from the boss will make Massacre a bit easier. It also makes Crescendo easier as well if that's going off. But this entire phase, guys, especially with bad overlaps, all you have to do is just focus on surviving. Just focus on living. If you can live through this, if you can keep the entire raid up, then you can easily face the boss afterwards, and it makes the third phase a joke. One other recommendation here is pay attention to where the massacres come down. Pay attention to what order they come down in, because sometimes they will all be stacked up like this that you see. So if you know which ones came down first and which ones came down last, you can still stand on the massacre as long as you know when it's going to be coming up and when it's going to be hitting you. So that's very important. Just focus on dodging, staying alive, dodging everything. And you got to be careful there too. The boss's frontal does go off during all that going on. So you have to make sure that you survive that. All right, for this part here, you just want to push the boss. Whatever health the boss has left, you just push it to work on the phase. Now, I always go to the ad on the right side. I have everybody hard focus this ad on the right side because you want to kill the ad before the boss's frontal goes off. You cast it right away. So you want to get it killed so that when everyone gets knocked back, they can focus on soaking seeds. Actually, I'm going to pause the boss right here. So we can see the middle. Okay, right here. So for this phase, I always have two rules for this phase. The first one being as soon as seeds drop, everybody in the raid needs to soak them. This includes melee. So when you start to see the red rings, have all your melee wait by the middle. Like have them start getting off the boss now, have them go wait by the middle, especially if they're a slow class. So as soon as they drop, they can run in and get soak them immediately. This is extremely important when Hand of Destruction is going off because if you don't have a roar up or if you can't run out far enough to wherever the farthest seed is and soak it, then the seed will go off with Hand of Destruction, and that generally causes a wipe. So for this part here, obviously the pools come down, but the seeds actually drop after the pools come down. So that's why you want to kill the ad before the knockback actually happens. So the overlap here isn't too bad. Now the first set you want them to drop in the middle. Anywhere in the middle is fine. But once again, I don't really assign markers just because you can generally line people up because it's either away from boss or close to boss. You don't really need set markers. From here, right now I'm yelling at all the melee to go soak. There's a couple melee on the boss, which they shouldn't be. They should be soaking, but yeah, you want to soak them as fast as you can. Roar out here and soak them on your way out. Now, for this part here, we had a spirit link, which is good. It helped everyone stay even. If what I tell everybody at this point here, if you don't have 80% health or more, to use either your lock rock, your health pot, or some kind of defensive. You want to use something here just so that you don't get hit by the hand of destruction too hard if you can't make it out far enough. But you generally want to have a defensive up for every single hand of destruction. So after that first ad, this is where you want to pop hero. Generally, I want to pop hero as we're running out from the first hand of destruction. Obviously not for damage. That one is more so for healers, just so that they can get the extra heal off on whoever's low, so that nobody dies during the hand of destruction. But you want a hero, kill this ad as fast as possible. And then once again, watch the knockback. You want to have the boss on top of the ad as fast as possible, just because there's a knockback right away. And sometimes melee will stand on top of that ad, and if the boss isn't there, they can get knocked off pretty easy. All right, for the ravages, I don't really have any set spots I bait them. Generally, it's right there just because that's where the ad dies. But sometimes it changes. It can be, normally it's pretty random. I'm not too worried about where it is. Then you got your knockback, and then this is the second set of seeds. So for this set of seeds, it always drops twice. Now, for these ones, since there's no hand of destruction, you can have the boss soak them immediately. The one thing I recommend for seed runners is that as soon as you're not overlapping your other people with the seeds, you have to stop moving. Because if you're constantly moving around and you just won't stop moving, I don't know if you have fidgety feet or you just can't like go back, you can't stop going back and forth, whatever the case is, you have to stop moving because getting hit by the seed does a lot of damage to everyone else. So make sure that as soon as you spread out, you stop moving just so other people around you can get out of your circles. That is very important. Okay. So for this set of seeds, you want to soak immediately. You can bring the boss on top. And then for that second set of seeds, normally I don't care where you drop it, as long as you don't drop it on top of that first set of seeds. So one of them overlapped, but just drop them far enough away where it doesn't overlap the people soaking. So it's a lot less damage. Then we have another knockback. And then we have our first set of, I guess, difficult massacre in the third phase. So for this massacre, you have seeds dropping as well. For these ones, you don't have to soak the seeds right away. You have time. For this phase, I just tell everybody to live. It's another massacre, and for every single massacre in this entire fight, you just have to focus on living. So I tell everyone to focus on living first. So don't soak if it's not safe. But as soon as they have a safe passage to the seeds, or as soon as the seeds are safe to soak, they have to soak them immediately. And then they get them soaked. This is the first bad hand of destruction as well. So hand of destruction, you always want to bring the boss to the whatever corner you can, the farthest corner away from like the rest of the map. And for this one here, especially this one here, this is probably the toughest hand of destruction in the entire game. This is probably the toughest part that probably wipes the most amount of groups in the third phase. So not only do you have hand of destruction going off, but you also have people with seeds. Now, if you get hit by the seed as well as hand of destruction, you will 100% die. So this is why it's very important for the seed runners to like spread out and get away from the hand of destruction as quick as possible, just so that they can stop moving so other people can adjust. Then it's same thing with the seed runners. If the seed runner, if you have the seed for this phase, you usually have to pop some kind of defensive. And on top of that, you want to get as far away from the hand of destruction as possible. A lot of people will run back towards it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they'll run out and then realize there's too many people over there, so they'll run back towards it. If you do this, then with the seed, you will probably die as well. But this set is pretty straightforward. You run out, you pop defensive, the health pot if you're low. Don't be inside the seed and hand of destruction at the same time. And then as soon as they get dropped, just focus on soaking them. So once again, everybody soaks immediately. And this is your Ravage and knockback. So he's going to cast Ravage first, but you want to bait it to where the boss is so that he can just knock you back to the new zone. You never have to run out for that Ravage. Just let him push you. Once again, there's another Hand of Destruction. So here, for this part here, I am yelling everybody. I'm yelling at everybody in the raid that as soon as those seeds drop, they have to be inside them soaking. So that means no one is attacking the boss at this point. Everybody's waiting on the outside of those seeds, ready to soak as soon as they drop, because we're about to be gripped in for Hand of Destruction. And if you're not quick enough running back out, the seeds will blow up. Or if you didn't have enough people soaking immediately, then the seeds will blow up and that will wipe the raid, because seed damage is huge as well as the Hand of Destruction damage. And both of those going off is too big for the raid. For these ones, everybody soaked. They did really good. So now we roars out. This is where you want to use AMZ or Spirit Link for that set there, just because you'd be able to hit everybody in the raid, and for anyone low, it would help save them. For this set of seeds that come up next, these ones you want to soak immediately. So for this one, it gets followed by Massacre, but you are able to soak them quick enough that they can all be gone before Massacre is even out. So if everybody soaks fast enough, and if you have enough people alive, they can be completely gone before Massacre even hits, even before the first sword even hits. Then at this point here, the boss fight is pretty much over. If you are still fighting the boss, so like if you don't kill the boss here, you have to move those seeds away from the boss. And once again, it's another instant soak and Hand of Destruction. So if we didn't kill the boss there, we probably would have wiped because we didn't have enough people alive to soak the seeds. But once again, there, it's just move the boss away and soak those seeds as fast as possible. You get gripped in, run back out, AMZs, defensive, health pots, health stones, whatever you have left. That's what you want to pop there. Using this comp, using this strat, we've been able to help usually 15 to 20 people every single run get their AOTCs. And it's not like it's taken hours and hours and hours to kill. Most of these groups take 3, 4. The longer groups take 5 pulls to kill. And it's very consistent on how many pulls it takes. Using the strat, focusing on survival, focus on your single target damage, and everything that you learned here from me today. Try this out. You know, if your guild is struggling, if you have questions, whatever the case, ask questions, guys. I'm going to post my Discord in the description below, so check that out. If you have any questions, ask. I do tons of these runs on Twitch. I try and get about 15 runs to 20 runs a week, so feel free to stop by my Twitch and get in on one of these runs if you don't have your AOTC and you're getting frustrated. But I do, you know, I go over the Warcraft logs, I go over all that stuff every single time we form, and that's why it helps get these groups successful, right? Like you can't have anyone being carried, you can't have people constantly dying mechanics, so you still have to you know, like if you're constantly wiping, if it's the same people dying in Massacre, whatever the case is, you may have to, you know, you may have to make cuts. It's not elitist. It's just, it is what it is. If they can't focus on mechanics, they got to just get more practice in, whether it's on normal, whether it's on other boss fights, whether it's learning their class so they can, you know, focus on mechanics more than just their class. That is it for today, guys. That is the entire Sire guide. Like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and comment them below. I hope you enjoyed this guide. Use this guide, guys, if it's whether it's your first time going into the fight or if you have a lot of pulls and can't seem to get the fight down. This guide will not only help you do the fight, but also if you try and put groups together for this video will help you form those pug groups as well in order to get the boss down on your own. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an awesome night. Bye-bye.